everybody. Welcome back. It's been a while. Chris and I have been super, super busy. Not only are we enjoying a little bit of sunshine, but we've also been busy doing fundraising for the Adamson barbecue case with Know Your Rights seminars. So if you haven't heard about Adamson barbecue, we will probably do. You haven't? He's only been inundated with Adamson barbecue stuff, but Vincent Gersey, Chris Weisdorf, and myself, supported by Concerned Constituents of Canada, have been putting together a Know Your Legal Rights thing for people who are donating. We believe in giving back to the community as the community gives back to us, but this is one of the most important legal cases of all time, and I think we probably should have everybody on again at some point in time.
Right, and we got a brand spanking new video for that, and then I just finished the sizzle reel for our brand new television docu-series called Behind the Skin. So we will do Where the Hell You Been series or show probably in the next couple days, honestly, because we're good to go with that. But we're not going to play any of our media today because that's going to take away from someone else's media that's really, really great. We're going to start with the trailer, and then we're going to go from there.
Hey Dean, it's Michael, how are you? You know, I'm dealing with these spinal lesions and, I'm trying to go down the rabbit hole to figure out what's happening to me, and there's so little information out there about the vaccines and COVID and long COVID, and man, I'm just so tired all the time, and I'm wondering if you'd be interested in doing a documentary on what's happening to me right now. Give me a call, we can talk about this.
If anyone chooses to not get vaccinated, there will be consequences.
Ignore nasty, ignore anti-maskers, take that shot.
The average doctor that prescribed these vaccines, they actually made a lot of money.
And those who questioned and challenged the narrative were portrayed as dangerous and spreading disinformation.
They don't understand why it's happening. I think they do. They just don't want to admit it.
So this is a new film called Why Can't We Talk About This? It is by filmmaker Dean Rainey, who joins us today. So we're just going to bring Dean right on and go from there. Hey, Dean.
Hi, Dean.
Hi, Chris and Jody. Thanks for having me.
Welcome.
No problem. So, Dean, I had never really heard about you before this. Actually, I think Michelle Wharton might have been the first person to send it to me. So I watched I think it was a 15-minute movie splice you've got, and then I watched your trailer. And then we heard through the grapevine you wanted to come on the show. So it was perfect. So I looked up raineymedia.com to see who you were. And you're this incredible Canadian filmmaker. You do all kinds of video promos, TV commercials, documentaries. You've worked with Fox News, CNN, the Canadian government, Canada, USA, Asia. You've kind of been all over the place, and National Geographic. And I'm going, why have I never heard of this man before? You're a secret, a well-kept, hidden Canadian secret.
Well, in some circles, I guess.
Thank you. Yeah, I guess. Thank you. Yeah. No, I just live down here in Norfolk County, just off of Lake Erie. And, we've just been sort of pumping out videos down here for the last couple of years. And then, my friend had an adverse reaction to these vaccines, and that's where the film genesis is.
Now, your friend is Michael that you're speaking of. Okay. Yeah. And Michael is severely vaccine injured. And I mean, we watched your film. We finally got to it last night. We missed 2 of your showings, which we wanted to get to. But we finally did see it last night, and Jody broke down. We said to you before we started that this just never gets easier. We watch vaccine injuries, and you'd think that you would kind of get hardened to it. It never gets easier for us to see these things.
No, and it's been hard to make. It was hard to make the film. It's sort of its own little thing, but that it's been even harder to sort of get it out there and promote it and market it. We've gotten pushback. I've picked up a lot of trolls. Theaters don't rent to us. And then it's also heavy, you know, because you listen a lot and you hear a lot and you realize, wow, it's not just a couple of people. There's a lot of people that have been affected by these shots. And so it's encouraging and hard at the same time. Like,
Right.
Films.
Yeah. Did you realize that, you know, these adverse reactions were so widespread before you did the movie, or is this something that is becoming more and more prominent to you since doing the movie?
I don't think I'm surprised by it. I think I've kind of always been a suspect of big pharma and, you know, rolling out these things. Like, I remember when OxyContin came out and it was told it was safe and not addictive. And then at that time, I moved to Asia and spent 10 years in Asia where there was no opioids like that. I moved back and I see there's an epidemic of opioid addiction brought on by, Purdue and the opioids. So none of this surprised me. It's disappointing. You know, I think I was suspect at the beginning. They're rushed. It's a new technology. You know, it was just a lot of garbage was thrown out there. A lot of things didn't make sense during the pandemic. So I'm not surprised, but I'm really disappointed at the numbers. Yeah.
Yeah. And so we were kind of talking before the show that this is kind of, I'm struggling to find a good word for this because the cliche words are used up for me. And so basically there's some of us who've known that government and media have been lying to us. The amount of lies for the amount of time is mind-boggling. And then some people are just kind of waking up to that fact. And you have spent time working with CNN, CBC, National Geographic. So I would say you were fully engulfed in that world. And now, is this a shock or not to you that I guess I'm getting to the point where you are getting pushback. You're not getting rented out to. You are getting stalled and stopped. We're heavily shadow banned, you know. So is that new to you now as well?
Oh yeah, I'm totally shocked and awed at the performance of legacy media. I worked 2 years in the newsroom, in the control room in CNN, in their Asia bureau, and I like to believe there was like discourse in that newsroom. There was discussion in that. If a story went up, if it was questionable or the wording, like there was pushback, there was conversation about this. Where did that went now? I have no idea. I could not believe the propaganda coming out of CNN, the blatant lying. Yeah. In CBC, such a disappointment. I just had a real hard time wrapping my head around that. And even former colleagues in the media are still, I'm going to just say, captured. Like there's just no rational thinking right now. They're just towing the line. Whatever they might have some thinking, but their editors are just chopping it and it's not getting out there. And, the reaction from mainstream media has just been such a disappointment. I just can't believe the propaganda machines. It's unbelievable. And I have a hard time even with my father, just watches CNN all the time. And I'm like, Dad, I worked there. I was in the belly of the beast. You got to believe me. There's something not right here.
Yeah.
Well, even so far as social media, like I remember the very first time I landed in Facebook jail, I was like, what is this? Why can't I speak? Why? And then I came out and I don't think I was out more than a day and I was back in again. And people were laughing at me. My friend group was laughing at me going, there's no such thing as Facebook jail. You're crazy. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I can't post happy birthday because I'm in Facebook jail. And I remember coming out once and I think I'd been in Facebook jail now for 90 days. And I finally got out and I posted a thank you to my dad. Thank you for always teaching me to always tell the truth, no matter how hard it is. Thank you for giving me the courage to speak truth and stand up. And I was put back into jail for posting that.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what is happening right now?
And the worst part is like the appeal with all technology now, the appeal process is just non-existent.
Correct.
So you're just pushed off and there's nobody you can talk to. There's no rational. It's just computer says no. Algorithm says no. And so it's really disheartening and it's scary because you're losing platforms, your channel, your platform, and you just have no recourse.
Correct.
Yeah, I love the fact that you're new eyes on this. And that was what I really picked up on your film, because the couple things that really impressed me or impressed upon me were number one, that you got thrown in a jail for a YouTube video. So not actual jail, but they deleted one of your
Medical
photos.
misinformation does not meet our policy guidelines. I was like, oh, there's his jail.
And then the other thing is that you were calling like the CPSO and they were getting back to you and you were shocked by that. And we're like, right.
It happens.
Welcome to the club. Yeah, they don't talk. That's the whole thing.
I know. I'm a citizen, though, and I was expecting, well, we'll just have some dialogue. Clearly, I'm misunderstanding the Ontario College of Physicians. If they're banning all these doctors, that can't be right. And they'll explain to me, right? And then, I mean, I was being a little facetious, but yeah, at the end of the day, it's still hard to hear that they just don't want to talk about this, don't want to acknowledge this. And we live in a culture of like doubling down right now. And this is so dangerous to our society and our civilization to grow and evolve. We constantly have politicians and leaders that when they're caught out, they double down. And so we're just not going to fix things. And that's scary to me, you know, living here in Canada and seeing that.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I remember you said that you didn't get called back and you were shocked by that. I'm like, oh, that's adorable. I mean, it's great that you want to be non-biased, and we also try to hit that note. But at the same time, we've given up trying to talk to them a long time ago. We've stopped writing them. We've stopped writing MPs. We've stopped the rallies because they just do not respond. And
and when they see you coming, they lock the doors.
Yeah,
I'm like,
they do. They actually lock doors now. Yeah.
We went down to Public Health in Toronto, a group of us, and they saw us coming, and you saw their securities run to the doors, and they started locking them. And they actually had a patient outside that was trying to get in, and he's knocking on the door, and the security's like, no. And the guy's like, I need my meds. You have my meds. I'm not with them. And they would not open that door.
Right.
And I'm like, we're just a bunch of women out here demanding answers. That's it. Why are you making these policies? Have you looked into the science behind these policies? Look into this person's face who is injured and tell them that it makes sense and that, their injury doesn't matter. Tell them. Don't care.
Yeah. Just looking out for themselves at their position and their power. Yeah.
Exactly. Even the VISP program, the Vaccine Injury Support Program, we've got the stickers. We actually made up stickers and started posting them everywhere so that those who had injuries could understand that there was a number you could call. There was something you might be able to do, sort of a last ditch effort. And they peel the stickers off. I'm like, but this is a government program. Why are you peeling the stickers off of mailboxes and off of stores and off of garbage cans, public garbage cans in the park? And they peel them off. They literally don't want anybody talking about it at all.
When you say they, is it kind of the public that sees it? Or like
the public, the government organizations, sanitation, your doctors, it doesn't matter. They do not want it talked about. They don't even want their vaccine injury support program talked about, right? We've got a community mailbox. So I put the sticker on the community mailbox all the time and they rip it off. These are federal government mailboxes and a federal government program, and yet they rip the stickers off. I'm like, what am I missing here?
Well, I think it's an existential crisis for many people. To admit that all this happens means they have to look at themselves, their actions during that time, and the fact that they have any number of shots in their own body.
Yes.
And I feel that there's a lot of trauma that we carried from those last 4 years.
Yes.
All of us. And so some people want to deal with that trauma. Some people don't want to deal with that. Some people have to go through the 5 stages to get there. And so I feel like we're just in the denial stage right now for a lot of people, especially the government, and especially a lot of people that were very vocal proponents of the vaccines. They don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be shamed back for what they did. And then they also think, like, what's in my arm? What's going to happen to me? I just don't want to think about this. I'm fine. I'm through. Let's move on.
Yeah. I saw in your film, and it wasn't up for very long, but the subject of your film, Michael, he had even posted, those anti-vaxxers, something derogatory about anti-vaxxers. And now this poor man is suffering. And I'm sure he must have some feelings about that. And I don't think he ever mentioned that in the film. But I did see the post come up and I was like, oh,
yeah, like as a filmmaker, I thought that was an important part to show his character, to show the narrative, the sort of the arc that he had to go through, that he was on the front. There's another point too, where I ask him point blank, I say, you had COVID 2 times.
Yeah.
And then you had 2 shots. Why did you keep going with the boosters? Like at this point, your body should be just ready to take on COVID. And he was like, I just was doing what I was told. Get a booster. And he had bought right into that, which was surprising because he's on the left leaning and they have a tradition of questioning government and big pharma, but they lost that through COVID.
Yes.
And here he is really just following what he was told. And I think a lot of it was people were just scared. You know, people were really, really scared. And there was just so much shame and stigma on social circles that it was incredible. I'd never seen anything like that, how divisive. Then you got a prime minister that comes right out and divides everybody right there too. You know, if you're against these, you're a sexist, you're a racist, you're misogynist, you know, nobody wants to be included with them. So yeah, and the reaction to that from people for Michael has surprised me, because some people that were anti-vax see that part in the film and then cling on to it. And they want more from Michael. Yeah. They want an apology for that post. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I don't think Michael owes anybody anything at this point. I think that everybody's living with the consequences that they have from their actions. And he's more than enough made up. And that I think there's going to have to be, you know, some forgiveness on the other side. I know that the pro-vax were just unbelievably insane. We can look back and see why they did to the Japanese what they did, and they did to other back in the day, right? You know, when you discriminate against people, but, you know, have a little bit of grace now, because these people have these shots in their arms and they have to live with every day. Who knows?
Right. Yeah. I mean, you're kind of grouping a lot of different people out there. And so, you know, the people who are duped and have art, like you say, and have kind of learned from it, sure, that's fine. We can deal with that. You know, the one group that gets me more than anything, and you highlighted it a few times in the movie, are the doctors that knew but wouldn't say anything because they didn't want to lose their license. Now, that to me is despicable. Yes. And there's no excuse for that. And that has come up already about a year and a half ago. Was it one of the doctors? He knew he was still vaccinating people, but he did not vaccinate himself or his family. And then in turn told his patients they should get vaccinated. And yet he knew. And that came out after the fact. I'm like, wow.
That's been a big disappointment, because like a lot of people say, well, those doctors have mortgages, they have kids in college. And I'm like, hold on, I don't know, maybe I'm just too naive, but like I took a big hit to make this movie. Yes. I came across the information and I was warned not to do it, but I did it because I just thought, we do this? Like, I'm a filmmaker and it boggles my mind. Everybody has time for Jason Bourne when they're all after him and there's some big conspiracy, they can buy right into that. But when it happens in front of them, you can't see it. No. And I just thought, yeah, those doctors, like all the people that didn't take the vax had to make a huge sacrifice and tried to do the right thing. So it's hard. It's a hard pill to swallow to have your doctors just be like, yeah, I got to make that fourth payment on that cottage I have in Muskoka. So I got to keep giving these out.
Exactly. And I know when I was speaking out, I had all these doctors and people in the medical community sending me stuff. Post this. And I'm like, you post it. I'm just a realtor, but you actually carry weight, right? I am getting killed on social media right now. My business is getting killed and I'm a single mom with 3 kids and I have no income now coming in. They're going, yeah, but my practice. What about my livelihood and my 3 kids? Mm-hmm. Your words carry weight. Mm-hmm. Yeah. My words don't necessarily carry weight. I'm getting killed with, you're not a doctor. What do you know? Right. But your words would have carried weight and they all stayed silent, even though not they all, because clearly there were some amazing doctors out there that spoke out. Dr. Mark Trozzi, Dr. Charles Hoff,
Chris
Dr.
Shoemaker, who's in
Malthouse.
our,
Chris
Yeah,
Shoemaker.
but I'm talking right from the very beginning.
yeah.
Dr. Hoff, Dr. Malthouse, Dr. Trozzi. I remember reading Dr. Trozzi. I think he was the second doctor to speak out, but he was the first doctor here in Ontario to speak out. And and this was in 2020. And I was like, oh, who is this man? I must know who this man is, because he actually left in order to have a voice and speak out, and in order to do more research. And he left before the shots came out. He left when all the propaganda about how bad COVID was. And he's sitting in the emergency room going, I'm empty. They're now sending me home, and I'm getting paid to sit at home because there's nothing going on. So he started speaking out right at the get-go and was crucified. Now, as time came on and the Freedom Convoy came, more and more doctors started piling on, because all of a sudden they had millions of people behind them. Or now they were starting to see the error of their ways, and then they started speaking out. And that's Dr. Chris Shoemaker. He was on board, and now he's injured, and he went, oh my gosh, what am I doing? So thankfully he decided to start speaking out. And not only did he start speaking out, he was shouting from the mountaintops.
Absolutely,
now.
but not without serious consequences to both his professional and personal life, I think.
Yes,
exactly.
And so, okay, some doctors are saying, well, I can't do this because I don't want to lose my license. But then others are like, well, I don't want to be canceled and lose everything. Like,
yes.
I remember the early days the Bakersfield doctors came out. Yeah, I would love to do a film on them. Two great looking guys came out, those Hollywood doctors, and they had all this data that was like, hold on, hold your horses, don't panic. We can deal with this. If we're smart, we can deal with this. And within 24 hours, gone, erased from the internet. Totally. And I think a lot of doctors looked at that and said, ooh, I don't want that.
Yeah. I remember when they came out, I was like, finally, something. And then those doctors stood on the Capitol Hill steps, and then they came out. And so it was finally happening, which was really great. But just going back to Shoemaker again, it begs the question, is it more brave to know right off the bat and speak out like Trozzi and Hoff and all those guys, knowing exactly what the consequences are going to be? But Shoemaker's now seen other doctors get thrown under the bus. And now he's got to come out, not only say he's got to risk his career, but now he's got to say, I made a huge mistake and I was wrong. And that took a lot of courage in my mind with Chris. And it was the kids that woke him up, and God bless him. He started like, why are we jabbing kids? And that was where he drew the line, so, I got a lot of respect for Chris, and he has lost everything, literally. Everything, so that's tough stuff.
Totally. I don't know what this means for the next time we have a crisis of some, I just feel like we're not building off this, learning off this, anything. I just don't know. It's hard times right now here.
Well, I think for me, the one big shift is all of those people you thought were credible, doctors, lawyers, MPs, police, they have lost all credibility since 2020 in my mind. And, the ones that are on side haven't spoken up. So they're just right in the same group as far as the criminals.
I have friends that I thought were smarter than me that just lost the plot during all this. And it's hard, because you respect people, you rely on people. And it's just like, wow, I just did not see that coming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And, a process to go through, friends, family members.
It was tough. And even going down to vaccine clinics, and the police are sitting there allowing children to be assaulted without making sure proper consent was even being given. I was put in handcuffs because I was trying to give informed consent. I wasn't yelling. I wasn't berating. I was trying to hand the adverse reaction form that you can fill out, a government form that you can fill out if you experience any of these reactions. Because what I learned from some of these kids coming out of the vaccine clinics is that they weren't being told before that shot was going in their arms. They weren't being told what the adverse reactions were or possibility of reactions were. They were just asked, hey, are you here to get the shot? Yes. Do you understand you're getting a shot? Yes. Okay. Do you want the shot? Yes. That was literally it for these teenagers and children. And then after getting the shot, then they were handed a piece of paper that said, if you experience any of these symptoms, please call your doctor right away or get to the hospital. I actually interviewed 3 teenage girls, and they showed me the piece of paper they were given after the shot. So I started going to vaccine clinics that they were aiming at children and trying to give parents the information before getting the shot. And I was put in handcuffs, and I just said to the police, like, I will take your tickets, I will take your arrest, but you've got like 5 or 6 men standing outside guarding those who are harassing or those who are assaulting our children. All I'm asking you to do is go inside and make sure proper consent is being given. Make sure that the risks are being told ahead of time, not after the fact. And they refused to do it, and they protected those who assaulted and did not follow our medical legislation. I was livid. I was so angry and so upset. So I lost total influence.
It's been unbelievable. A big shock for me as we screen the film and talk to people. And we have a Q&A usually afterwards with some of the doctors, Dr. David Speecher and Dr. Chris Shoemaker. People don't know how these vaccines work. Even here we are, 2025, and I had some friends come out, and intelligent friends, and their question in the Q&A was, wait, can you explain this to me again? This is not a traditional vaccine? And this is after, they've seen the science in the film. It just hasn't hit home. So many people thought that this was a traditional vaccine, like any other vaccine that they've taken. So they really put their guard down.
Yeah.
Big time. And did not understand what these mRNA vaccines are and how they work and the potential damage that they can do or are doing right now. And even my doctor, he knows I have this film, and he's usually a pretty good doctor. He's like, if you want to stay healthy, stay away from doctors. And he's not quick to prescribe us anything. He's pretty hands off. But he knows I made this film because I'm like, this is a man in our hometown here. Like, this is a gentleman here down the street, and this has happened, and I made a movie. And he said, I've been hearing things. I'm like, what? Like, but he's so busy and overwhelmed with like turbo cancers and other issues and heart issues with his aging population that he doesn't have time to kind of look up. And then he said, I explained to him what had happened. Michael had a neurological event, lesions on the spine. He's paralyzed. And the doctor said, my doctor said, gosh, I've given thousands of vaccines to people over the years and never saw a neurological effect. And I said, but these aren't traditional vaccines, These aren't the ones you gave my kids when they were young. This is different. And he's like, wow, okay. I might call you if I have some questions. You might know more than I do. And I was like, holy frick, that is a sad, scary day.
Right.
I know you're older, but wow.
But when the patient knows more than the doctor, that's a problem.
That's a big problem.
That means the doctor shouldn't be giving these out and shouldn't be recommending them if the patient knows more than the doctor. Perhaps maybe you should look at some of the adverse reactions or the risks, or maybe just go on to Pfizer.com and read the website for 5 minutes. That's all I did at the very beginning. When they started talking vaccines, I'm like, whoa, got on Pfizer website, went on to Moderna's website, printed off 28 pages from the Pfizer website going, stop the presses. Like, oh my gosh, the adverse reactions they're having just in their trials. And then the fact that they were running, step 1 and step 2 at this exact same time, that has never happened. And then I started looking up mRNA experiments and had discovered that, 20 years prior to 2020, they had done 34 experiments with this mRNA, and it was originally touted for cancer to, seek out the cancer cells and destroy. But in every experiment, 34 of them, all the animals were dead by year 3, which is why that mRNA never made it into a human arm, because they couldn't keep the animals alive. Most of them, it was around 6 to 9 months that the deaths occurred, but some died right away and others lasted for 3 years. So when this started rolling out at the beginning of 2021, end of 2020, I'm going, oh my gosh, 2024 and 2025 are going to be horrendous years for our Canadian population. How many people are we going to see dead? And that's all I kept thinking of, and the tears and the tears, you know, and knowing, you know, watching the Facebook post, oh, I got number 1. Oh, I got number 2. Look at me. I got the booster. And the tears, because these are people I know. I live in a small community, and these are people I know. And all I kept thinking is, you know, they're the Walking Dead. They're going to be dead sooner than they should be. And they're not even going to know why. It's just going to happen. And I'm seeing it with our funeral homes. They're having record years, and they're like, whoa, this is amazing. And they had built a hospice just down the road from us. And, you know, when they first built it, you'd be lucky. I used to drive into town every day, so I'd drive by it every day. You'd be lucky to see 1 or 2 cars in there every day. That parking lot is full every day now. And people just keep saying, I don't understand why all these young people are dying. Oh my gosh, there's another death. And I'm going, please, people, connect the dots. Please.
I know. Anecdotally, like, cancer's out of control right now. I must once a week find somebody who their cancer's come back, or they've just been diagnosed, or it's, you know, it's turbo cancer or something. There's so many health effects going on, and whether it's from the lockdowns and all of that happened, and the unhealthy eating they had us doing, no sunshine, no vitamin D, sit at home and eat processed junk food and all the beer you want, crazy health advice, but we're paying the price now, you know.
Yeah.
But you're right, people are not connecting the dots, particularly our doctors. They don't seem to be.
No, you talked about, you know, the fear from making choices and whatnot, and the problem with trying to use truth to wake people up is that our truth is a bigger fear. And here's where I'm going with that. You're fairly new to this, you said. And do you think, in your opinion, do you think this was a hasty decision by a government that was in a tough position and they made a mistake? Or do you think this was an intentional plan to harm people? Because the doctors you have on your film are very much of that opinion. Where do you sit with that?
That is the $1 million, $1 billion question, right? It's a big one. I don't have any answer definitively, but I kind of lean towards the incompetence, a little bit of incompetence and corruption sort of mixed together, a blend like many governments or corporations. But there's a lot of evidence that leads to some nefarious motivations for all this, and I can sort of see that. But you know, the road to hell is paved with good intentions, and sometimes I see a lot of that in there, that people were scared, they thought they were doing the right thing, and we see how politicians act on all kinds of issues. This was kind of no different. Nobody stood up, nobody went against the current. If they did, they were shut out or shut down. So I think it's probably a combination of many things. I don't want to, you know, jump out of answering that question, but I think it's probably a combination of the two there somehow.
Yeah.
So where do you think the corruption lies? You know, there's a lot of people, it's definite depopulation because we're overpopulated. There's other people who, you know, Trudeau's making tons and tons of money off this. And so for every shot he makes, you know, X amount of dollars. So it's just pure greed. Where would you pinpoint the corruption on that?
The money probably is the low-hanging fruit on that one. And it's all layers, right? From the doctors. The doctors got, like, imagine if I had a product that the government mandated everyone must buy. Oh my goodness, I would be rolling in it, right? You know, and that's basically what the doctors had. You know, they had a controlled monopoly on these shots, and they were able to give them to everybody, regardless of your health status.
Yeah.
And so that's maybe greed, not corruption. And then the next layer is, well, I'll just not look at this research and I'll let this go through. And that's a little bit of corruption. And then somebody's motivated at the next level from something else. But I would usually tend to follow the money for things like this with me. I mean, the depopulation, I get it. But at the same time, if you depopulate too much, you collapse the whole society. So I'm not sure why a government would necessarily think that is the ideal way. And we're already naturally depopulating here in Canada, other than immigration. We're a disaster just waiting, you know, Not sure what the spoils are on the end of that. Maybe you can enlighten me on that. But I kind of think it's a combination of things.
Well, immigration is a whole nother show for sure.
Exactly.
So, come back. We'll do another 3 hours.
Sure. And I got, I'm an immigrant. I migrated to Hong Kong, and my wife is from Thailand, and we immigrated here, and we're pro-immigration, but I'm shocked by the last 10 years of the country's immigration.
It looks more like a collapse of the system intentionally. And
that to me does. That to me absolutely looks like manipulation and trying to undermine the society here for some sort of destruction, takeover. I mean, we're already a pretty authoritarian state, and one of the most socialist countries I've ever lived in. And I lived in Hong Kong, close to China.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a stack of documents regarding the UN Agenda 21. You might want to start there.
Yeah.
And then I'm sure the money into the corruption will totally make sense into the genocide.
Well, you've got Carney saying he works with governments to create policies and then invest in those companies that are going to, benefit from those policies. There was a time when we knew the conflict of interest was wrong. And like you said, there was a time when we knew Big Pharma was corrupt. We knew there was a time when politicians, we knew they were liars, but it was acceptable. There was an acceptable amount of lying that was allowed with politicians, right? And then they kind of got greedy. But in 2020, everything shifted. All of a sudden, pharma could do no wrong. Governments could do no wrong. And then we were disclosing health status. I remember 2019, there was a lady who got on an airplane with an emotional support pony. A pony, emotional support pony, and they couldn't do anything about it because they weren't allowed to verify her medical status. And that was 2019. So there's where we've come from.
Wow. We are living parody sometimes, I think, just like,
right.
Very hard to do comedy these days, which is why I've moved into more serious freedom topics. Maybe.
Well, you're welcome to come to an open mic sometime. So what's been the biggest shift with you? So from all of this, when did you start this film, by the way? It's about 1.5 years, I think you were saying.
Yeah. Late 2022.
Oh, okay. So it was still
into
raw.
2023, I think. 2023,
Okay.
I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So things were still raw. So what's
I didn't want to touch it at first. I wasn't sure what to do with it. I have family, friends on the other side of the issue. And when my business was already struggling from lockdowns. So picking up this topic and running with it was like not enticing at all,
Right.
Wow. We kind of almost got into a position where we did it. And then we thought, okay, well, we don't have much other work. So let's put our eggs in this basket. And I felt, I felt Michael had a noble story. This story needed to be told. And I knew it was going to be hard. I had to get buy-in from my team. And ironically, it was when we were censored on YouTube that they went, oh, crap. Because we're just in a small little town here.
Yes.
And, my team's younger and they see all the YouTube censorship in the States and with people with big platforms or whatever. You hear, but you're never going to touch us. Are you kidding me? And then to get that medical misinformation strike on an unlisted video, then I got buy-in from them. We're like, okay, we gotta keep going with this. This is ridiculous.
Yeah. Yeah, when we were doing justice for the vaccinated, I suspected shadow banning was happening on Twitter. I suspected because I wasn't getting any traction, which was weird because I used to teach social media and get businesses on social media. And so we started Justice for the Vaccinated Twitter account, and it was gaining like 100 followers every hour. It was going up so fast, and that was for 24 hours. And the next day at noon, I watched it, and the following just stopped, just like that. It was just like turning off a faucet. And that was it for me. That's when I knew, like, our voice, our messaging, it is getting shut down like crazy. So the alternative was to wrap a bus in a giant message and go across the province. So yeah, I mean, we've been kicked off YouTube already. Dr. Hoff actually got us kicked off, and then just mentioning Dr. Trozzi will get you kicked off now. Yeah. And so TikTok has banned us, shut down a whole bunch of stuff over elections because I discovered they were taking ballot boxes home, and I announced that, and I had proof, and TikTok killed it for misinformation, right? So is YouTube your only? I mean, Facebook, I would imagine you'd run into troubles with Facebook too.
Yeah, a little bit of shadow banning there. But and then now I get this whole people like, well, you're not, your video's up on YouTube now. Well, no problem. The censorship's gone. And I'm like, it is for now. Why? Because they got you to do what they needed you to do at the time, which was
Correct.
take the shot. So when it mattered, the censorship came in. And now it doesn't matter. They've given them out. They've got it. It's done. We're over that. We can talk about this now on there, but watch out because it'll be the next thing, whatever the next topic is. Regardless where you are on the Russian-Ukraine issue, you should want freedom of information from both sides so you can follow what whoever's doing what. They've just taken a whole bunch of channels down. When Russia invaded Ukraine, they took a bunch of channels down there. Oliver Stone's film, Ukraine on Fire or whatever. There's a great film about the history of Ukraine, and it got pulled down. Immediately after. So you just have to be very, very careful because they will step in and pull this stuff down when it doesn't follow the official narrative.
Correct.
So what's for you now? Are you going to keep going with this? Or are you going to go back to just commercials and plain and
cooking shows with my wife? Yeah. Well, I'm in the space now. I think we're definitely going to, keep promoting the film as much as we can. I think we have a long ways to go. There's a lot of people that need to know about this issue and see this film. The summertime's tough. We launched in April, so we've been busy April, May, June. But then summer, everybody wants to go to the cottage. It's nice. They don't want to be inside in a theater watching a depressing movie. I mean, there's a bit of hope, but it's not a feel-good movie of the year. But so I think in autumn we'll pick it up again and really push the film. We're going to do screenings in Ottawa, maybe come back to Peterborough again. And, you can reach out to us if you want to request a screening or organize something, because I think it's important that we watch the film together in community and then have the doctors there to answer people's questions. And I think there'll be some other topics that I'm interested maybe that are sort of adjacent to this that I'd like to explore. There's a lot happening in Canada, but it's also hard, man, because it gives me a lot of anxiety when I'm in depression, when I think about the state of our country. It's disheartening,
Yeah. And your next showing for the film is at Mordo's Organic Farm Store in Dundas. And that's tomorrow night, Friday, July 25th. So get your tickets and go see this movie. That's for sure.
That's right. You can go pick up, you can go donate, get tickets. Are tour dates, showing dates up on your website as well, Dean?
If you go to our Facebook, Rainey Media TV on Facebook, all our information's there, updates, new developments, bonus content, stuff like that is there. It's a great way to get in touch with me. But we'll be in Dundas Friday night, 8 p.m. at Morden's Organic Farm Store there.
Awesome. So what would be next? You hinted at next.
Yeah, so if you go to our YouTube channel, we're releasing extended interviews with the doctors and scientists. And if you've got the time and like the science, I recommend you watch Dr. Stephen Pellich's interview. It's like 2 hours, but man, does he ever explain the whole thing in terms everybody can understand. He looks at the whole response to COVID, and I think that's great.
Yeah, and doesn't he talk about how the doctors also got like emergency bonus money for putting COVID on files, whether COVID existed or not in those patients, they got that extra bonus money?
I don't think he says that in my interview, but he might have said that in something else.
He has said it in the past. Yeah. So would you continue on with the COVID medical documentaries, or are there other subjects you want to explore?
I think there'd be some other subjects that I'd like to explore. I'm just looking at the state of Canada. I think for me, it's interesting to see the influence of China and the lack of action by our government to protect ourselves here, and sort of how naive we've been. But that is maybe a dangerous subject.
My wife wasn't dangerous enough for you. Let's let's up the ante.
Up the ante. I've checked with my wife though, if she'll be like, "Can you just go back to cooking shows, please?"
Yeah.
But you know what? Cooking shows might also be upping the ante, because we know that there's a push for 3D printed meat and to get us onto crickets and get us off of eating real food. So that might even be upping the ante. I don't think that's a safe subject.
Now they eat crickets in Thailand, so I knew about that. But it's like it's a funny thing. It's a snack in the village or whatever. whatever. They're not replacing meat with it.
No.
Right.
But it was interesting for me to see the legislation that they put through, the bill. I forget what bill, the pandemic plan bill that has been going through. And there's a whole section about coming up with new proteins
Yeah,
and being able to take
it
over.
was.
Take over control of cattle and and I'm down here, and this is agricultural area down here in Norfolk County, Ontario's garden. So this is a great concern, and no one knows anything about this, and no one's talking about it at all. It's shocking. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, they're rounding up cattle farmers right now, rounding up, much like they did with the ostrich farm. They're rounding up. Well, we reported, was it 2 years ago, about the chickens that they were coming into hobby farms and just give us your chickens, and that was it. There was no recourse, there was no fight. Your chickens were gone. If they saw eggs being sold at the end of the driveway in those little farmer market booths, they knew you had chickens, and they were coming in and rounding up all the chickens.
This is in Ontario?
In Ontario. And nobody was talking about it. We did a video on it because we had heard of, was it 2 or 3 farms or whatever, that this had happened to in our area. So we did a video on it and it went viral. And still nobody talked about it. And then we've got a really great friend, Edward Embry, who's a farmer, who fills us in on what's going on in the farming community. And, a farmer recently in Ontario had all his cattle rounded up and taken away. And yet, again, nobody's talking about it. Right. And I know with the ostrich farm right now, there's a lot of heat and a lot of conversation around that. And people are going, well, why should we care about the ostriches when our cattle? And I'm like, well, because nobody's talking about the cattle. These farmers have to come forward and they have to make a big deal about it in order to save our food supply.
And I will say that some of the vaccine injured are disappointed how much attention the ostriches are getting.
Yeah.
It's strange because we've got human beings here across the nation injured, varying degrees. And like that Global News is the piece on the vaccine program, which was just a scandal. It wasn't about vaccines or injuries. It was about a scandal, a liberal scandal. And that got attention. But other than that, it's been silence. But these ostriches have really gotten a lot of news.
Exactly. And I keep saying, with that bill C-293 that died in the House last session, but it's already been brought back in this session, but it's been kind of brought back in pieces under different bills. So you have to read like 2 or 3 different bills to understand that it's all actually Bill C-293, One Health, where they want to treat us all the same, animals, humans, the land, and the environment all as one entity. So I'm looking at the ostrich farm from sort of a different perspective than everybody else. I'm looking at it from the perspective of One Health. And if they can come in and cull 400 healthy animals because 1 or 2 tested positive for a disease, what can they now do to human beings? We know when the COVID thing was happening, they were quarantining whole homes and they had the contact tracker going on. And, you've come in contact with somebody who was at Shoppers Drug Mart who had COVID. So now you have to quarantine for 14 days. Are they going to evolve that from being quarantined to now we need to cull you because you might make people sick? No testing involved. You were in contact. So that's what I'm looking at the ostrich farm from. This is a dangerous precedent that could possibly be set. And that's why this needs to have so much momentum put behind it, or so much media put behind it, because if they want to treat us all as one, then this precedent could be set for human beings. And it won't be that you have to get vaccines. It'll be, you now need to go into this quarantine camp because you came into contact. You happen to be shopping at the same place or pumped gas at the same place as somebody else who was sick. So now the likelihood is that you're probably sick. So we need to ixnay you as well, for the greater good of society. So that's my fear moving forward, and why I'm watching the ostrich farm thing play out to see where this goes.
I think that's totally valid. I mean, I think the vaccine injured are like the canary in the coal mine for our universal healthcare as well, because they're showing that we don't treat the individual. It is just the greatest good for the greatest number. And if you don't fit in that box, you're not getting treated. You know, there are tests in the States Michael could get. There are treatments in the States Michael could get, but he can't get them here. And they just say, well, it's idiopathic, so we can't really give you a diagnosis. So we can't treat you then if you don't have a diagnosis. Or, well, you know, not everybody gets to get that. So you can't get it as an individual. And I tell you, that's no healthcare. That is no healthcare system at all. When you're not treating the individual, you're just treating the group.
Exactly. So I don't know.
One story I will say, just if you're asking about other work, is I was approached by Bobby Ann Brady, who's our independent MPP down here, and we love her.
I'm so proud of you guys for voting in an independent twice, not once, twice. I'm so proud. Thank you.
Well, yeah, the community really got behind her, and I think it's a good example for other areas to maybe consider independence, because, man, she can represent us. I know there's some challenges with it, but it really feels good that you know that your representative is representing the constituents and not the party, especially when we have provincially, well, kind of federally too, sorry, but both parties look the same to me right now. And in Ontario, we kind of have a uniparty, and it's not ideal. So yeah, Bobby Ann's been a great representation down here. But she approached me with a woman from the next town over who just had a nightmare experience with WSIB. And I've always considered WSIB just to be a racket tax collector of its own rogue organization. So we did an interview with her, and we're going to follow up. So hey, if you've got a story about some problems with WSIB, you can also email at Rainey Media, and we'll collect those interviews as well.
All right, we'll put that out.
That's amazing.
Yep. We can talk. We can talk more. I'll give you some media. I'll give you some stuff to sort through. Definitely. Yeah. So are you like fully like, this is it? This is my life now? I get that you need your buy-in from your wife. I guarantee you'll be fine. Jody and I have gone, I think our philosophy now of 3 years is like, maybe this is the thing that gets us killed. And they don't care. They'll just shut it down. So keep going at it. It's another brick in the wall, right? So
yeah, well, it's certainly tempting because, you feel the work has value and you're helping people and you're seeking out truth, but it's an experience even, like I had mentioned earlier before this conversation, I am new to the quote unquote freedom movement. I've always been pro freedom and have followed along through everything when I didn't think it was right, but now I'm kind of in the community, I guess. And even that community itself is very complex.
Yes.
Because I've gotten a lot of support from the freedom community, obviously, but then also I've gotten some actors who think, well, I believe in freedom so much that I'm free to steal your film and put it up on my platform and farm all the views and all that. So you have some of that and you call that out and you get attacked. And so it's like, okay, this is interesting. People are complex. So
yes,
definitely. Yeah.
Yes.
Like we were mentioning, if you're not talking about lizard people, then you're just not going far enough.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
But yeah, it is interesting. The pushback on, well, if this is so important for people to know, then you should be giving it away for free. But they don't understand the amount of hours that you put into it, the amount of money that it costs you to put into this. Nothing in this world is free. I wish it was, but it isn't. And you still have to keep your lights on and feed your family. And if you don't have money to do this stuff, then you don't have money to do the next project. And people don't understand that part of it. You would love to give everything away for free, but I guarantee you those people are not going to work and working for free and not expecting a paycheck at the end of it. So...
yeah, and not only that, like if I don't have ownership, like I'm still trying to get distribution for the film and I'm entering it in film festivals. And sometimes the film festivals will say, okay, for the month of October, we're going to showcase your film and promote it, but you got to take it offline. Well, I can't do that if somebody's taken it from my YouTube channel and uploaded it to Rumble.
Exactly.
And then, so I lose control of my copyrighted work,
right.
Which is, we still have to have respect for the copyright laws and stuff like that. So
exactly.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, people don't understand. They just don't understand.
Especially in this world of like devaluing content, right? It's just there's so much of it, and so many people do appear to give it away for free. You as a lost leader or something that I think it's sort of desensitized people to to pay for them. Having said that, though, there has been support for the film, and people have been generous and appreciative. Even $10, $20, it all helps. And the notes that we get encourages me, it encourages Michael, and encourages a lot of the vaccine injured people out there to know that they have a voice and they're not being, stigmatized anymore, that we're actually able to talk about this.
That's good.
That's amazing.
Dean, do you want to just give us, do you have showing dates other than tomorrow? Do you want to give us a list?
Well, we're just always working on them, but I would say September 19th will be a big one in Ottawa at the Bikers Church.
Nice.
Love the
Come out
Bikers
there,
Church.
and if we can get enough interest, then we'd like to add another screening, maybe at a library, because we're also trying to get the other side of the aisle. I have the support of the freedom community. I have the support of the vaccine, anti-vax community and Christian community and different communities like that. But I also need sort of the urban liberal to come out and watch this film and consider the information in it and know that this is happening.
Well, they need to understand that, the stuff that's happening to their health that their doctor's not able to explain, this might actually give them some answers and another pathway to go down to figure out what's going on with them. We drive our van and it's all lettered up. You do your own research this. Are you suffering from these symptoms? You may be vaccine injured. So, I have that all over my van. And how many times we've been stopped just in parking lots or getting gas, and people are reading it. And I had one young girl, well, I shouldn't say young, she's younger than me. I'm 51. So everybody's young to me. But she was probably in her 20s and 30s. And she was with her mother, who was probably my age. And I saw them as I was walking out of Walmart, and they're looking at my van. They're kind of teeing and, oh, that person's crazy, whatever. But then I got into the van and they both stopped and realized, oh my gosh, that's the owner. And then the younger girl walks away from her mom to put her cart away. And I was parked near the cart return. And now she's out of the view of her mom. And she's reading the van. And she says to me, I got the vaccine back in February and I'm suffering some of these. And so I said to her, you're probably vaccine injured and your doctor's not telling you. And she said, well, yeah, he doesn't know what's going on. We don't know. And I said, because he's afraid he'll lose his license, because over 40 doctors in Ontario have lost their license or had their licenses suspended for telling you it's a vaccine injury. But I can guarantee you that's exactly what you're suffering. And I'm really sorry for your ills, but you might want to do a little bit more research into vaccine injury and find a doctor who's on board and willing to discuss that with you so you can get the help you actually need. And then she was like, oh, her poor face, but it was almost relief on her face because somebody actually acknowledged what she was going through and gave her a pathway forward. Right. So I think your film is very important for everybody to see because it might give them some relief and a pathway forward. And it might actually open up some of these doctors' eyes to the harm they're actually causing by staying silent. So good on you.
Well, thank you. That's the hope. That's the best we can hope. As far as like holding the college accountable, I just have no idea. I had a conservative MP that I did some work for, and even he said, oh, yeah, they're not going to touch, the Minister of Health is not going to touch the college with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
How is this allowed, this lack of accountability and transparency?
Yeah.
Allowed. And I just, it's disappointing because I don't know how we learn from this if we can't ignore it.
Well, exactly right. The name of your movie is Why Can't We Talk About This? And that seems to be the biggest obstacle, that people just will not engage in discussion anymore. And, I keep saying I'm old enough to remember that there really was agree to disagree. You would fight about something for a minute. And then if it just couldn't resolve, you would just fine. You'd cheers your beer mugs and move on. And it never caused ripples in the relationship. You would just not agree. And that was fine. It used to be fine. And we didn't seem to be able to have discussions and conversations anymore.
Do you think it's because now those differences are like values, principles? Like maybe we used to disagree on where a road should go or if we should put up a library. But now we're talking about fundamental human rights. And so when we disagree, like mandates, passports, you know, those are who you are as a person, and you're connected maybe to your belief system. So when those divide, it's really hard to reconcile those as friends, human beings. Maybe it feels.
No, it's a good point. I also think that there has been decades of propagandizing from our government. And if you look at, back to 2014, Trudeau ran on the platform that Canada has no identity. So I think there's been a massive intentional shift to try and remove identity from people. And I can go into many, many examples of how that's happening. But with a lack of identity, people don't know where to place that confusion. And so once an identity is poured in, and so now it's just become left, right has now become, you're either a fascist or a pedophile, communist. And that's where it is. There's no in between anymore. There's no discussion anymore. And we keep saying this left, right paradigm is going to kill us. So just stop with all this. But Marxist division is the first way to take over a country, and it's been outlined many, many times, many, many ways. So we have to decide who is taking over our country. And I think the Chinese is one of those options to look at, right? So, it's a good start for sure.
I can't believe when I moved back from Hong Kong to Canada and I turned on Hockey Night in Canada, and boom, the lead sponsor was Huawei. And I thought, oh my God. I mean, this was before any of the news. I thought, what has happened? You don't know CBC? The government doesn't know. Well, this is not going to age well. And it didn't. Obviously, it went where it went. But I was like, whoa, people either just don't know or didn't care and took the money. Wow.
Yeah,
didn't care, took the money.
No, and then our government is giving them mines against CSIS's advice,
selling them mines.
Yeah, all of our airport security things are all Chinese made, and they found out that they're sending information back to China.
Well, they fought our ports and our railroads, and
they own
tons of land. They own tons of greenhouses down here, and
buying our farms. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah, so there does seem to be a problem with it, but we're not looking in that direction for some reason.
Yeah, I think there's just too much money to be made and taken.
Yes,
too much there.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, Dean, welcome to the club. Nice big splash for your first entry, and looking forward to more from you.
Yes.
By all means, stay in touch too. We have gigs and gigs and gigs of saved clips and archive data and all that stuff. So for anything you want to do, we might be able to help with the archive footage. And we're happy to support you however we want.
Appreciate it.
And just one more time, go to this website to support Dean. Go see the movie, watch the movie. It is not too late to talk about COVID. Jody and we had a huge fight about this a long time ago. Not long, 6 months ago. I'm like, people are done with COVID. We need to move on. There's digital ID, central banking. There's so many more important things.
Biodigital convergence.
But every time we do a show like this, we realize people are not done with COVID and the vax harms, and we call them bioweapons. We're of the mind that there was intentional stuff going on here. And people are just still not ready to let that go. And people like yourself are just coming into the awareness that vaccine injuries happen. People are getting harmed and nobody's talking about it. So it's a perfect title for one of the biggest ills in our society right now, that the discussion has just been shut down.
Yeah. And we can't let that discussion be shut down. No. And it's not over. It has affected millions of people in our country. So that discussion cannot stop. It has to continue. The research into how to fix people, heal people, needs to continue, and not just heal people who have the physical, mental, emotional injuries, but heal families from what has happened, heal relationships, heal Canadians as a whole, because our country was completely destroyed and divided over this issue. And we need to figure out how to unite again. So,
well, I want to thank you guys for having me on, and for the platform that you've built and the work that you're doing. No, it's very, very important. And I want to just thank you for having me on and having this discussion.
Thank you.
Very important what you're doing. We need all voices to take back media and get some truth going again. So that's great. So good on you.
Yes.
Anything we can do to support you, just let us know and we will be there. So, all right, Dean, thanks for coming by.
And if you're in the Dundas area tomorrow night, check out Dean's film at Mordo's Organic Farm Store. And that's at 801 Collinson Road in Dundas, 8 p.m. Be there.
All right. Good night, everybody.